Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. A fire is growing in San Bernardino County, and officials have recently called on residents in one town to evacuate the area. The blaze is posing a challenge due to rough mountainous terrain. The Western U.S. is suffering from what some are calling a mega drought, the worst in a millennium. We'll hear more from one farmer on what's making it so difficult. Authorities issued evacuation orders on Monday for communities near the San Gabriel Mountains, northeast of Los Angeles. A wildfire burning in the area is continuing to grow.
The so-called sheep fire erupted on Saturday evening in the Angeles National Forest. Fanned by erratic winds, the fire had burned across nearly 1,000 acres of brush and is 35% contained as of Tuesday afternoon. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office ordered evacuations for several areas. Those included Wrightwood, a ski town of some 4,500 people along the Pacific Crest Trail, as well as homes dotted along Highway 2. According to fire managers, no casualties have been reported and no structures burned, but downed power lines were hampering communications. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said the cause of the fire is under investigation. They added that the fire had been especially challenging due to dense vegetation, steep terrain, and high and erratic winds. California has endured a string of devastating wildfires over the past several years as a lingering drought and warmer temperatures have left forest and grasslands bone dry.
A June thunderstorm brought rainfall to parts of Northern California. The storm brought some much-needed rain, but it also triggered multiple mudslides in the scars of record-breaking wildfires from years prior. Here are the details.
Caltrans officials said thunderstorms triggered multiple mudslides over the weekend, closing roads in Northern California's Plumas County. There is no estimated time for the roads to reopen. The slide happened in last year's Dixie Fire burn scar area. The mudslides came after the southern edge of a storm system over the Pacific Northwest delivered heavy rain north of Sacramento. The National Weather Service said that between 1 to 3 inches of rain fell over portions of Plumas County between noon and 6 p.m. Sunday. Plumas County's 10-year average rainfall sits at 0.9 inches. Caltrans said the mudslides have closed a nearly 50-mile stretch of Highway 70 since Sunday. The closure extends between the Jarbo Gap in Butte County and the Greenville Y in Plumas County. California Highway Patrol spokesperson Andrew Haskins said little sections of the burn scar just kept flowing down. It was just pouring rain when the slides were coming down. The closure sits on the scar of the Dixie Fire, the largest single wildfire in California history. The fire burned from summer into fall last year. The California Highway Patrol Quincy Division hopes the highway reopens by Friday.
Summer is nearly here, and there is already warning of a mega drought throughout the western United States. One farmer explains what he has to face with lack of water.
One of the worst droughts in a millennium is bringing consequences to California across the board, from water restrictions to inflation and fire. A fourth-generation farmer in the city of Hollister spoke about how the drought is directly affecting him, taking away his most reliable source of water.
It's limiting the amount of ground that we can farm. It's limiting the amount of the intensity that we can farm.
More than 90% of the Western U.S. is now in drought. Scientists say this is the worst dry spell in the region in 1,200 years. And farmers like Bianchi are feeling the strain already. He is now resorting to pumping water from the ground to nourish his fields.
Are we going to have water in 2-3 years out of our aquifer? Nobody could say that.
But the pumped water is considered lower quality compared to usual sources. And on top of that, the less water, the less crops Bianchi can grow. He says that reduces consumers' choices at the grocery store. And according to economists, less supply pushes prices even higher. That's in addition to sky-high inflation.
It's scary to think that we may not be able to do this because we don't have the water to do it.
The drought is leaving many fields fallow. In March, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation and a number of California water agencies signed an agreement to pay farmers to fallow their land. And fallow fields can ultimately lead to fire.
Despite having the most gun laws in the nation, state lawmakers are fast-tracking a total of 6 more gun-related bills through legislation. The bills come in response to several shootings in the United States. Let's take a look at what they're proposing.
The California Senate Appropriations Committee passed a package of gun control bills on June 13th. Several of the bills were proposed or fast-tracked in response to the recent mass shooting incidents in Buffalo, New York, Uvalde, Texas, and Laguna Woods, California. The assembly bills would add red tape to dealers and manufacturers, as well as limiting people convicted of certain crimes from owning firearms. The bills passed the committee with minimal public feedback. Assemblyman Steve Bennett of Ventura presented a number of the bills on behalf of their authors.
AB 228 would require the Department of Justice to inspect firearms dealers at least every 3 years to ensure compliance with firearm law.
AB 228, authored by Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez, would establish mandatory firearm inspections. Current laws authorize inspections but do not require them. Bennett also presented his own AB 1769.
AB 1769 seeks to prohibit the sale of firearms, firearm precursor parts, or ammunition at the Ventura County Fairgrounds. I think the recent events in Buffalo and Texas remind us of how important it is to do what we can to end the proliferation of guns.
The Ventura Fairgrounds hosts the Crossroads of the West Gun Shows Ventura. It's one of the largest firearm trade shows in the area. The gun show has faced local opposition in the past after a 2018 shooting at the Borderline Bar and Grill. However, the NRA Institute of Legislative Action released a statement saying Bennett's bill imposes a one-size-fits-all restriction to prevent officials from deciding how to use venues. Bennett also presented Assemblymember Buffy Wick's AB 2156. The bill would prohibit any person, regardless of federal licensure, from manufacturing firearms without being licensed by the state.
AB 2156 would promote public safety by closing the gaps in California's firearm manufacturing licensing law by generally requiring a state-issued manufacturer license to assemble or manufacture more than 3 guns per year by default.
Her bill includes 3D printed firearms. The NRA-ILA also pushed back against Buffy Wick's bill, saying this arbitrary ban on 3D printing only harasses law-abiding hobbyists who wish to explore this new emerging manufacturing process. Assemblyman Kevin McCarty presented the remaining gun bills on behalf of their authors. First was Assemblymember Brian Mengsheim's AB 2239.
There are 70,000 people that attend gun shows every year. The majority of them follow the rules, but unfortunately too many do not. Recently, our Attorney General found that an armed or prohibited person purchased a AR-15 style ghost gun ammunition despite being on the prohibited list.
Under current gun laws, a convicted felon is barred from possessing firearms. Mengsheim's bill would expand the list of convictions that prompt a 10-year ban. McCarty finally introduced his 2 bills, AB 2551 and AB 2552. AB 2551 requires the DOJ to notify local law enforcement of attempted firearm and ammunition purchases by prohibited persons. AB 2552 reinforces thorough background checks at gun shows in California.
This would add a list of misdemeanors and crimes that prompt a 10-year ban from owning or possessing firearms. Specifically, this has the support from our district attorneys and focuses on child endangerment and elder abuse to the list of crimes that warrant a 10-year ban.
However, the NRA-ILA argued AB 2552 continues to cut off access to law-abiding individuals who are looking to acquire firearm parts in accordance with existing law. Most of these bills passed in a 7-0 vote, with AB 2552 passing 5-1. They now await a hearing date on the Senate floor.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Another city in Los Angeles is offering free catalytic converter etchings. The goal is to make the pricey car parts less desirable to steal. Southern California's main power supplier talked about shutting off power for safety measures. We hear about what they're doing to stop power lines from striking new fires this dry season. And an award-winning documentary is premiering in Hollywood tomorrow. We'll get a sneak peek of what the film is all about. That and more on California Today. Authorities have recovered over $200,000 worth of Lululemon merchandise in Orange County. The athletic apparel company says it's the largest recovery of stolen items in the company's history.
The California Highway Patrol Organized Retail Crime Task Force intercepted a shipment of stolen Lululemon products from Ohio to an apartment complex in the city of La Habra. The investigators delivered the 3 boxes to the apartment and noticed several other similar boxes. They obtained a search warrant and recovered 16 boxes full of Lululemon leggings. They seized over 1,800 stolen items worth over $200,000. According to the CHP, the merchandise was stolen at various Lululemon locations throughout the country to include stores in Ohio, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Lululemon representatives said this is the largest recovery of stolen items in the company's history. The apartment residents claimed they did not know what the boxes contained. The investigation is ongoing.
A community in Southern California is fighting catalytic converter theft by offering free etchings on the pricey car parts. Authorities came out to show their support.
Officials gathered at Buddy's Auto Tires and more in Garden Grove, Orange County to etch vehicles' license plate numbers on catalytic converters for free. Senator Tom Unberg joined representatives from the Automobile Club of Southern California and the City Police Department. The event is part of an effort to help mitigate the risk of catalytic converter thefts. Unberg told the Epoch Times to pay to replace the part and repair the damage can be expensive and cost thousands of dollars. The team etches the vehicle's license plate number onto the exposed converters, which are located in the exhaust system under the vehicle. According to the Auto Club, the process takes about 15 minutes per vehicle and involves raising the car on a lift for easier access for the etchers. The etchings are part of a community effort occurring at 16 other Orange County and Los Angeles County Auto Club approved vehicle repair shops. Catalytic converters contain precious metals, some worth more than gold, making them a desired target for thieves. According to a study from the National Insurance Crime Bureau, as of 2020, over 1,200 catalytic converters are stolen on average each month in California.
Raging wildfires are part of life for many of us here in California. And now, even before a blaze erupts, one power company says that they may have to shut the power off to keep everybody safe. NTD's Jackie Reels has more.
We all take electricity for granted. The food in our freezer stays frozen, the light turns on in an instant, and for many of us, electricity even powers our cars. So why is Southern California Edison turning off the power voluntarily? We talked with one Edison official to find out the answer. Keeping the power up is not always as easy as one may think. Power suppliers have to face a wide range of weather and disasters in California, from extreme Santa Ana winds to earthquakes and wildfires. A representative talks about what leads to these public safety power shutoffs, or PSPS.
Leading into a PSPS event, that is based on the weather forecast, as well as our meteorologists and our weather stations and our people on the ground surveying what the ground conditions are and the winds.
Southern California Edison, or SCE, will initiate a power shutoff in a designated area to prevent the electrical system from becoming the source of the fire. A PSPS is not to be confused with a blackout.
We have meteorologists working for us who use sophisticated weather data and models in order to forecast expected conditions. But in addition, we also have people in the field monitoring and verifying real-time conditions. In addition to the meteorologists and the people on the field, we also have up to 1,500 weather stations.
Castro said if there's a fire risk in the area and there's enough concern, then SCE would initiate a public safety shutoff in order to keep the community safe. Power lines from state electricity suppliers have sparked wildfires in the past.
Trimming back the vegetation around our infrastructure also helps mitigate against these risks because it removes the dry brush around the lines, eliminating the fuel source that any potential sparks would need to come in contact with to cause an ignition.
Another safety measure has been to install covered conductors.
Covered conductor is highly effective against wind-driven hazards such as contact from objects. It is less effective against fall-ins, which is larger risk in forested areas. So covered conductor reduces the risk of debris causing sparking when coming into contact with our lines by insulating the wiring.
One example of that debris is falling tree branches. So far, Southern California Edison has installed over 2,500 miles of covered conductors. Jackie Rios, NTD News, Los Angeles.
The San Francisco Zoo rescued 3 10-week-old yellow-crowned Amazon parrot chicks from smuggling. They're currently healthy.
According to the zoo, the South and Central American birds were confiscated at a point of entry into the U.S. during an attempt to smuggle them in. Illegal smuggling is one of the largest threats to South American birds. The species is popular because they are very smart and can copy what people say. After the chicks were transported to the zoo, they were given a health checkup. Now, at 12 weeks old, they are healthy, playful, and curious. A blood test confirmed that 1 is female and 2 are male. The zoo says the birds will not be on exhibit until they have matured.
The award-winning documentary Eternal Spring will premiere on June 15th in Hollywood. The animated documentary reviews China's continued repression of freedom of speech, assembly, and belief.
我觉得长城就是一个小孩子看的一本童话书。
Hollywood's Chinese Theater will premiere the award-winning Eternal Spring on June 15th. The topical location fits the Chinese subject matter as the story revolves around spiritual believers inside China clearing their faith's name in the face of extreme persecution. The movie is based on a true story from 20 years ago. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, launched a persecution campaign against the peaceful meditation group Falun Gong. To counter the state's non-stop TV propaganda at the time, a group of Falun Gong practitioners hijacked a state TV channel to broadcast content vindicating the belief. The 2002 broadcast interruption shocked the world. CNN described it as one of the Falun Gong's most daring to date. In the aftermath, the participants faced severe persecution, and some paid with their lives. To date, the human rights abuses depicted in the film are still taking place in China. Film director Jason Loftus is a Peabody Award-winning filmmaker and 4-time Canadian Screen Award nominee. The 86-minute film took about 6 years to finish, during which the CCP constantly harassed him and his family. Loftus will be attending the premiere on Wednesday and answering questions from the audience. The film won the Rogers Audience Award at the Hot Docs Film Festival last month and 2 prizes at the Thessaloniki Documentary Festival in March. Tickets and trailers are both available online.
Make sure to keep an eye out for an interview with Jason Loftus later this week. Our reporter will speak to him personally about his work on the film during the premiere. Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
It's the Golden State Warriors versus the Boston Celtics for your California Today Sports Roundup.
The Golden State Warriors are 1 win away from their 4th NBA championship in 8 years, with their 104-94 victory Monday night against the Boston Celtics. Instead of the Splash Brothers Steph Curry or Klay Thompson stepping up, it was Andrew Wiggins shining when the lights were the brightest. Wiggins scored 26 points and grabbed 13 rebounds, as the Warriors survived a third-quarter push from the Celtics to emerge with the win, with the best-of-7 series heading back to Boston for Game 6 on Thursday.
You know, something I've dreamt about for sure, being in the league, and, this is the ultimate stage. Doesn't get bigger than this. So I was out there just being aggressive, and, it was a good game.
Wiggins and Klay Thompson did most of the damage for the home team, combining for 47 points, while Boston committed 18 turnovers and missed 10 free throws at the Chase Center. Poor shooting saw the Celtics trail by 12 at the half, but they opened the third on a 10-0 run, taking their first lead of the night, 58-55, via an Al Horford three-pointer. The momentum then swung back to the Warriors via a Jordan Poole half-court heave to end the third quarter, and they put the game out of reach with an emphatic Wiggins dunk late in the fourth. Andrew Wiggins was the first overall pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, but he's only flourished since joining Golden State in 2020. He's played outstanding defense on Boston's Jason Tatum, who finished with 27 points. Stephen Curry had put the Warriors on his back with a 43-point performance in Game 4, but struggled from distance on Monday, going 0 for 9 from three-point range and scoring just 16 points.
And I remember I said, I played horrible, but I had to kind of define what that looked like in terms of just trying to make the right play, keep things simple, and the fact that, everybody stepped up. Wiggs, JP, Klay hit some big shots. Draymond found his life and his spirit and the way he impacts the game.
Curry's dazzling drives and playmaking ability was still on display as he finished with 8 assists while putting pressure on the defense. Curry is one man who will have to play better going forward, and being one loss away from elimination, the Celtics will be a tough out in Game 6. Warriors 104, Celtics 94. Serena Williams will resume her quest for an elusive 24th Grand Slam singles title at this month's Wimbledon after making her long-awaited return to the tour when she competes in doubles at the Eastbourne International. The former world number 1 has not played competitive tennis since limping out of last year's first-round match at the Grass Court Major, where she has won 7 of her 23 titles in tears due to a leg injury. The 40-year-old has slipped down the rankings to 1,208th in the world and needed a wild card from the All England Lawn Tennis Club, which organizes Wimbledon, to compete in the main draw of women's singles. But Williams will first team up with Tunisian world number 4 Ons Jabeur for the doubles event at Eastbourne, which gets underway this weekend. Since lifting her last Grand Slam trophy at the 2017 Australian Cup, Williams has been on the hunt for an elusive 24th that will put her level with Australian Margaret Court for the most major titles. The main draw at Wimbledon starts on June 27.
And that's all for the California Today Sports Roundup. Go Warriors!
That's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I am Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.